He's one of the most versatile, enigmatic, and prolific artists in the NFT space, portraying profound topics in his signature pixel art style. Today we're talking to Cap'n to find out more about the mind behind the Figmentz, Plantz, and Pixcells projects on the Tezos blockchain. Artist Journal, July 26, 2023, broadcasting live from Berlin and New York City on Rug Radio via Twitter Spaces. My name is Adrian Pocabelli, and we welcome back co-host, artist, and conversationalist to the show, Runtune. How is your week going?
Good morning. My week is nothing too terribly special to report, but it's good. Glad to be here again. How are you?
I am doing well. Sometimes no news is good news, right? And I'm a creature of habit, and I love my routine. And so, to your point, sometimes nothing is good. I've had so much change moving apartments that today I went to the gym for the first time in like 10 days, and it just felt so good to get back to a routine. So it's kind of funny. Like I almost had these allergies that were starting to crop up. Maybe it was the heat and stuff was in the air, and they all just kind of disappeared for the most part after going to the gym. So I'm doing much better. I'm doing good. And I am super thrilled to be here.
Oh yeah, I know how those allergies can be when you're in the middle of a move.
Do you?
It's something about moving all those, but just getting into all your belongings that have been maybe like sitting, you know. Yeah, I had a coworker a few months ago who went through a move and their face was just like messed up for 2 weeks.
I almost have a theory like it's the dust. You're cleaning and
100%.
there's 100%. I think I got a bunch of dust in my lungs, and
Yeah.
I think I've
You've
just
been
had
you've been
had
coughing a little bit on the artist journal.
exactly. Like I wonder if it's just the cough of my of my possessions, taken from my possessions, the dust on my possessions,
Get
and
rid of it
now,
all.
yeah, and now I'm just actually getting rid of it all. To your point, I'm getting rid of like I am really putting a scrutinizing eye on everything I have as before putting it away in the new place. Because if I have to move out, let's say, in a few months, like I don't want to go through that again. I just want to pick up and leave. I'm almost like, I have a little bit of furniture, not much, but it's like I'd rather just buy new furniture and know that's not cost effective. It's not like I'm drowning in money or anything, but I think I'd almost rather do that next time than, all of this moving stuff around, mattresses, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, thrilled that that's kind of
I
wrapping
think
up.
that's probably a common attitude in, major metropolitan areas.
Probably. I mean, it's just like, what it's like. You're in New York. I mean,
Mhm.
it's kind of part of the business of living in these places is oftentimes you have to move. I mean, unless you get lucky, just things happen. There's movement. So, anyway, I am thrilled that Cap'n has come on the show here. I didn't know if he would. I mean, he's kind of a bit of a, as I was saying in the intro there, a bit of an enigmatic figure. And so I'm actually just thrilled that he decided to come on. Cap'n, how's your week going? We just lost Cap'n. Here he is. He's requesting to be back on. Let me just put him on. Cap'n, you are back. Can you hear me? And how is your week going? The suspense is off the charts as to what Cap'n will sound like. Cap'n, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, sorry I had some trouble with X. I was hearing like two spaces at the same time. How's everyone going?
Doing well.
Everything's great.
I feel last week we had Unknown Collector on and nobody was joining the space. So there's like a massive glitch. And so I had to restart it. But all those people that, put in the reminder, none of them got. So yeah, I hear you. I think there are things going on with Twitter spaces. So fingers crossed today. Captain, what country are you calling from? And you don't need to tell us if you don't want to.
I'm from Costa Rica. Adrian.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
Very cool. I just love how international this scene is. And are you from Costa Rica?
I am from and I live on.
Cool. You know, I've heard really good things about Costa Rica. Like you know how I've heard it described is the Switzerland of, I guess it's Central America, isn't it?
They say that here as well. I doubt it, but yes,
I doubt it. Yeah.
that's some slogan that we have here. The Suiza Centroamericana, they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's good marketing, although Switzerland is a remarkably expensive country. I've only been to the airport there, but just there, I mean, I was pretty shocked and amazed what a bottle of water will cost you. Felt
Costa
like
Rica as well, man.
in Costa Rica as well.
Yeah, recently prices of everything have raised a lot. Like everything's getting expensive. I think it's global, right? Not just Costa Rica, but it's not
Yeah,
what it used to be. I know it's a global market economy.
What are the
yeah.
laws around cryptocurrencies in Costa Rica?
There's none, man.
There are none.
No,
Living free.
Uh, basically, when I first started doing crypto, I started trading a little by the beginning of 2021, and I encountered some troubles with withdrawing my money and that with the bank, but it was soon fixed. I don't know what happened. Probably some rich guy contacted some bankers and said, "Hey, what's going on? I need my crypto to be withdrawable." Right, but
You said that was back in 2021?
yeah, around
Yeah.
let's say August 2021, I was trying to withdraw some little games I did with some shit coins I was playing, but yeah, it was not an issue. It was something I think banks were not ready for this trading activity, let's say, because I know people trade here, not so much into the NFT scene, but they do trade, trying to make some quick grabs or an eventual pension or everything.
It really is a global casino, isn't it? The
It
crypto
really is.
space.
It
I mean,
really is.
I and the funny thing about it is it's not like I say that almost endearingly. Like I love it. I absolutely love crypto. I mean not all of it, but I mean for the most part, I just love the idea of these tokens you can buy and sell. You know, just from your little MetaMask or whatever you're using,
Mhm.
Binance. You know, it's a lot of fun. So, when did you get into crypto then? Was it fairly recently then? Was it the 2021 bull market where a lot of people, like, I think I came in 2020, kind of like at the start of that bull market. Is that basically when you came in as well?
I came in around, yes, let's say February, March 2021. I started my sister's ex-husband. I mean, he contacted me. He had some, hey, dude, let's trade. I'm going to teach you to do this. And I started doing that. Then I started doing crypto in my real life work as well. I work for online gambling company here in Costa Rica. I'm totally unrelated to art, but that's my uh, real life gig to sort of put it in a way. But yeah, I started doing crypto around March, and then I stumbled with Hen at around June. It was pretty synchronized. I don't know, like it was meant to be for me to dive into these waters.
I think so. And I mean, what's really impressive about what you've told me already is is it a full-time job and you're still very prolific. I mean, you have several projects. You're kind of constantly releasing stuff and I admire it because like I struggle with the time issue. And yeah, I mean, so you are working full time.
Yeah, I do work full time. Yes, I actually have today's shift at 10 a.m. It's 7:30, 7:40 a.m. But yeah,
Nice.
I, I get time for art and for music as well. I've played with several rock bands here as well. I play bass guitar.
Oh, very cool. And
What
so
kind
Yeah,
of bands?
sorry.
What kind of bands did you say?
I played with heavy rock bands to put it some way. Actually, if you go to my object or hen main account, my captain or the Chico Jam, whatever you want to call it, my very first mint, it's the very last song I composed, recorded, and played with the previous band I played. It was called Bad Smoke and the Astral Haze. It was a heavy psychedelic rock and roll band. Well, not rock and roll, like psychedelic rock. Yeah, stoner, to put it in a more mm, genre.
Yeah, speak our language here, Captain.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, and now I play with a, let's say, kind of experimental progressive band called Waya Darat. It's a really cool project I started last year with three other guys.
You're a busy guy, full-time job. You're in bands. You're prolific on Object.
It's great. And
Yeah.
so, when do you work then on art? Were you basically saying you do it in the morning? Is that how you make the time?
I work in between my free time at work. Actually, I work from home. That's good, right?
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it.
yeah. I had to clarify that. I work from home. So when
Mhm.
I'm not doing shit about work, I'm doing art or playing bass or walking my dog.
Well, I think everybody is doing that, or at least,
Yeah,
doing laundry or going to the grocery store.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
like the new paradigm. That's why nobody wants to go back to the office. It's sort of because you're probably delivering what you delivered before. You're just not wasting a bunch of time in the office like before. I mean, I remember when I used to
Exactly.
work in an office 10 years ago. I mean, half the day you're just waiting for it to end surfing the internet. I mean, I didn't have that much to do, and nobody was paying me enough to go and like start new projects.
Yes, I totally understand. So
So,
yeah.
just as far as your background in art, then did you start making art when you with crypto, or did you kind of go to art school? Like, how did that all start?
Okay. Well, I started doing art as a very young kid. My older sister, she's like 45 right now. I'm 32, by the way. She she's a very prolific ceramist here and art teacher, and she's just a super creative mind, super inspiring person. As for me, growing up for towards art, I mean, she always took me to art fairs and to her um, group meetings and all that stuff. So I was heavily influenced by that. I used to draw and create my silly comics on my notebooks and high school and that stuff. Never really got into it. I've always been more of a music guy because I don't know, music what that first art that really touched my heart, to put it some way. And I said, I want to do this. And then around 2011, 2012, or something like that, I fucked my knee. So I had to stay like 3 or 4 months uh, in my parents' place. I was just playing PlayStation, uh, ripping bong rips and learning stuff on the computer. And I learned the basics for creating a GIF. And
That
I just
early,
yeah, yeah.
interesting. So you kind of
I
caught onto the yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to like, oh, how do they do this? I have always been very um, curious, right? I had an old PC back then, and I installed Linux, and I started like um, trying out stuff. And I stumbled with GIMP, and then I was like, how do they do GIFs? And I learned how to make a GIF, shitty GIF to be honest, but moving images, right? And I was very proud of that. Then I recovered from my knee injury. I started this band, Bad Smoke, that I was talking about. And yeah, so the basis comes from really long time ago, like more than 10 years. And yes, then came the NFTs. Actually, it was my friend Tater Tots. He's around. He told me, "Hey, dude, have you ever heard about NFTs?" Because he knew into crypto. And here we are. I started creating pixel art since, I don't know, for some reason I've always been drawn to it. I love Super Nintendo games. So yeah, I'm stuck in that 16-bit era or something.
Interesting, and I love the video game connection. Of course, I'm totally just yeah, almost it's obvious in retrospect, but it took me about a year to figure that out, just the connection there. And so, how early then was the pixel art? Was that basically when you were starting the gifts, or did that come like 5 years later?
Um, the very first gifts I made for this space um, can be found on my Versum uh, profile, but I don't know. The very first project I did for Hen actually was the test phases that they test phases, the like the ones Tratscape is rocking right now. You've seen those?
I'm
I
gonna bring
did.
them up. I'm
Is
gonna bring them up in
Yeah,
my.
yeah, but
Uh,
those are not gifts. So yeah, the okay. The first thing when I first entered the NFT space, it was all profile pictures, right?
exactly.
Everything. That
Yep.
yeah, PFPs everywhere. And I
Yep.
looked at them and I was, oh, fuck, this suck, man. This
This
all
is
the same
hilarious.
with glasses and a mustache, and this one has a beard, but it's the same template. And in my mind, I was like, I can do better, and I can do it minimalist with some, I don't know, stuff. And I created this 1 bit plus red, as I named it, faces, and I did more than 200 of them, and just having fun. I was just having fun, testing stuff, learning to mint, learning to interact with all the people here. And then we had the hen apocalypse, or call it some way, at November. I think it was in November 11th.
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was super down. I was, fuck, this is over. And I had a bunch of ideas and stuff that I delayed, such as the plants and other stuff I never released, that ended up in Versum. I started again in January when Versum showed up, since I was like, what's going on with pen? I don't want to put my efforts in something that can go away at any time.
Hilarious. So then you started doing Versum. So back to the pixel art
Yeah.
then. Did you start doing pixel art then with the whole blockchain NFT thing? Was that when you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I've only done pixel art. I've only done like pixel art. Oh, well, there's one piece I think that's not pixel art. It's an old drawing that I liked a lot, but I gift it, made it a gift. I mean, but yeah, mostly pixel art oriented uh,
E-
projects.
ex- Exactly. And so when you were doing gifts, say like 10 years ago, you were just
Yes.
doing different kind of things. You weren't doing pixel art.
No, I was not. I was trying to give life to my hand drawings.
What's so interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's weird because pixel art, it seems like it's been around for a long time. Was there an artist, like, was it when you like came across Rada's work? A lot of us kind of got inspired by Rada's pixel art. Like, was there an artist that you saw, or was it something you just kind of felt? Maybe you saw some pixel art and were just like, yeah, this makes sense for me. I want to do this.
Okay, yes, it 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 has always resonated with me due to the video game addiction I have, or used to, especially towards JRPGs from the Super Nintendo and PlayStation One era, but such as Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, and those games. But when I started collecting on Hen, I was a huge fan of 1-Bit Necro. Bangers,
He's the
bangers.
best. I mean, One
Oh,
Bit Necro is an acquired
oh.
taste. Like the first time I saw him, I was like, not sure about this. But now it's like, oh my god, One Bit Necro put out a piece. Like I have to,
Yeah,
see what's going
yeah,
on here.
totally, totally. Actually, I received a bunch of shitty offers for a bunch of pieces that I had from them.
Yep.
Yesterday, I was like, come on,
Same
come
here. Yeah, I saw that.
on. Yeah, yeah. But Popple as well. I was looking at Popple and 1-Bit Necro. I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? This is not pixel art. This is beyond that. It's not on the video game scheme, sort of to say. It's more than the traditional pixel art, to say, to put a name on it, right? And
Yeah,
then I started stumbling with other artists, but I will mainly probably say, yeah, 1-Bit Necro and Popular Art, the first two that I was like, what?
Well, you can't do much better than that as far as influences. And yeah, I call it edgy pixel art. It's just kind of like there's just a brooding darkness. Like
Mhm.
Popple's got that great sci-fi. It's like H.R. Geiger alien type vibe. And One Bit Necro, it's kind of like this horror. It's almost like this. So it's just so cool. Like, I mean, it's just so brilliant. And what's so interesting about, say, the Cap'n, like on your page, like you got to the pixel art stuff pretty quickly. Like, and you had those great rooms. Like, what's so interesting, like room 3R1, like you almost see a lot of the seeds of your art from very early on,
Yeah,
interestingly.
yeah. Those rooms are real places, man. I
Yeah,
was
and
just trying.
yeah, and they're actually pretty cheap for whoever's looking, considering how early they are. So okay, so then you started a bunch of projects. So tell us a little bit, just a little bit more on your story, and then I'll pass it over to Runtun here. Just as far as so you started making some work and you started selling it, I assume, and you
Yeah.
probably got encouraged by that and you kept going. I mean, tell us a little bit more about kind of what happened to you.
Okay, well, I was pretty discouraged with the apocalypse, right? And I stopped minting. I was just around looking what's the next platform or where to go, what's going to happen. I think I'm going to try Ethereum. I was thinking lots of things, but I didn't like it because of the price, right? So I kept creating. That didn't stop me, but I was like hesitant to mint or, yeah. So I kept experimenting, and what you see on my page, most of the Versum items are the product of those experimentation times. And selling those pieces and seeing the good response from all you guys and everything gave me the will to keep creating and making eventual collections, right? But yeah, all the hand transition put me on a tight spot to like I didn't know where to go. And yeah, then I came to object, and with a more oriented mindset, like I did know knew what to do, right? Like I'm gonna do these astral escapes, and I started working on those on a more serious way, like putting a hard work and my heart on that, right? Not just experiment and trying new stuff. Since all the previous stuff you'll probably see is previous the astroscapes, it's bunch of like abstract moving pixels everywhere, and yeah, it's not like a concise idea of what I wanted to do.
Yeah, like I see like a series of series is almost what I'd call it. Like there's these really cool pylon works. I
Yes.
remember picking up a few of those one of ones, maybe I don't know, must be 4 or 5 months ago now. Just scanning your page. Actually, there are some deals out there. On I just picked up actually that one with the Chinese character, that beautiful black and white one from very early on, for Tezos edition of 15. That's fantastic. So there are some deals there on your page. Runtun, do you have any questions for Captain?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see all that you've done. You're very prolific. Would you say that like NFTs and crypto is what kind of like keeps you so productive? Because I know that Poco Belly's talked about this a lot, and I definitely agree that uh, you know, NFTs are kind of fueling this creative mode of production for a lot of people, myself included.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be honest. I've made one of the best art friends I've ever done in my life in this space. So that keeps me pushing. That
Who
helps a
is
lot.
that?
Lots of people. For example, I've met this guy, Alga. He's around as well, I think. He's an awesome person. He helped me a lot to understand lots of stuff in this space. I've befriended Muji as well, whom I created still creating a collection. We've stumbled with in real life stuff that put us on a little halt. Um, yeah, to put some weight. Joe Howell, I see him here. I'm just checking the list. Weird Veil, of course, Tater Tots, Mick Renders, my friend, yeah, and lots of stuff. Santiago, here you are. But yeah, like creating connection, having fun with all these peers, and seeing the value they see in my art and I see in their art fuels this engine of creativity. Like, oh, I want to do these things. What this person did inspired me in some. So yes, if it was if it wasn't for this whole NFT crypto space, I think I wouldn't be as prolific as you say. Cause none of my friends actually dig my pixels as you guys do. They are like, oh, that's cool, but they don't they don't dive into.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I definitely have a lot of art friends who just wouldn't they just don't really understand it at all.
They don't. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, yeah.
connoisseurs out here of pixel art. Like we look at so much pixel art. All of the people I imagine in this space, like that we're in right now, uh, yeah. I mean, we're connoisseurs. So even like your Figmentz project, that took me like I thought it was really interesting, but I didn't. I wasn't collecting it at first. But then the more I saw, and then I started getting FOMO as they're all selling out. Talk a little bit about your Figmentz collection because that is. I think it's spectacular, and I think it seems like you're having a lot of fun with it. What did that come out of?
That's the most fun collection I've done, as you say. It's it came along since I was I'm always on a constant search of new stuff. I like to try new stuff. I get bored of something. I want to improve it. So my main tool, I use GIMP. Right, I've always used GIMP. I kind of know how to use Photoshop, but GIMP has these scripts and plugins that you can install that are pretty useful to what I do. Stuff that I learned years ago, right? And for the Figmentz, I was pretty tired of using Deluxe Paint too, because it's an old software, and I used GIMP and Deluxe Paint 2 to like mix the words, such as I did with the Captain gift shop, right? I tried to use the Deluxe Paint to break the image, then bring it back to game and do the magic there, put the GIF together and everything. Since on Deluxe Paint we cannot export as a GIF, so that main thing we cannot export as a GIF was a thing I was not happy because I don't like recording the screen and then going to GIMP to create the GIF for the Deluxe Paint creation. It's okay, but I wanted more. I wanted to have more control on the color cycles and other stuff. So I started searching for alternatives to Deluxe Paint. And I stumbled with uh, Telepaint from a BBC Micro. I don't know what that is. That's an old instance of art program. I found a GitHub, this site with software people create, programmers do, and downloaded an instance of this Telepaint called Art Forever. It's like a new version or new. There's actually several versions in the folder I downloaded, but this software based on Telepaint, an old paint art software, I don't know, came along. Oh, my dog. I came with this software, Art Forever, it's called. And I was totally drawn by it. I was like, okay, I'm going to master this program. And that's where I create the Figmentz. The curious thing about this one is that the color cycling and everything works totally different as Deluxe Paint. And I was totally drawn into it. Like, this is great. This is great. There, I can control the colors I want. I can control some stuff that I couldn't actually do on Deluxe Paint. Muji can, and I'm sure Sabato as well, but I I can't do it. So I stumbled with this program, and initially I started like experimenting as well. How does this work? What does this button do? How do I export this? What does, yeah. And then I like rebooted and restarted what I had in some things in mind with the Astral Hazers, another collection I did. And here we are, the Figmentz, which I think look really cool, like a very different approach to pixel art, and just yeah, learning, and sucking all that information to be better.
I would totally echo that. I think they totally look different than anything, and it's kind of it speaks to that whole idea that software, like, I mean, it's almost like the tools that are determining the work to a certain degree. Because
Yeah.
if you were in Photoshop, you wouldn't, or if you weren't using Deluxe Paint, like, you wouldn't be making certain things. So it's almost like, it just highlights the importance of the tools, which is an obvious point, but it's worth making. And also what I really love about them is they kind of distill kind of your metaphysical theme, for lack of better term, the light figure.
Hello.
Poco Belly, I feel like you're kind of cutting out there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you understand anything that I said?
I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear you, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cutting out.
Keep going if you can. Keep going, because if I end the space, it'll end it. So, Runtune, take it away.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're coming through okay right now, Poco Belly.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
what I was
yeah.
saying. Let me know if I cut out again. I am on a phone
Okay.
cellular here. It's more reliable than my internet. What I was saying. Too bad. I was on a roll there. But what I was saying is Cappen's Figment's work. What makes it so interesting? One of the things is it kind of distills this metaphysical theme of the soul and consciousness, and distills it with the very basics of technology, RGB. It looks like processors. So it's just such a beautiful distillation of kind of the soul, or almost like metaphysical spirituality, let's say, and technology. Do you have anything to say about that, Kevin?
Yeah, sure. I've always been a tech guy since I was really young. I used to create my networks and my neighborhood with my cousins so we could play StarCraft at night. So I've always been into like creating technology, diving into technology, not creating, but understanding it, and always being influenced by technology. At some point of my life, I got really into Ram Dass. You know who he was. He's the creator. He was a spiritual leader, and he wrote a book called "Be Here Now," and that
Yeah.
book helped me a lot through some time of my life, finding who I am, and lots of the themes that I touch here come from from a mixture of my head, basically. We all have something inside. We can't explain it. I can tell you who Pocobelli is, but there's something bigger than Pocobelli inside Pocobelli, in my way of seeing life, right? And it's just for you. I can never talk to that being that, or whatever you have inside, that gives you power to life and makes you think and cry and all the emotions, right? And it's basically me expressing what, or trying to express what we all humans are going through. We are like being torn apart of our inner soul and our inner gardens, and being brought into the world of technology. Now everyone's like a dumb person with a phone. They don't think. They don't, and I'm talking for real. They don't use their heads. They rely too much on technology. And I do think technology gave us advantages for sure, but as everything in life, there's a spectrum, and I try to explore that as how we have like sort of disconnected from the inside, and we are connected on the outside with other kind of stuff that can bring several good things to humanity. I'm pretty sure. But I'm always like exploring those themes, technology wise, nature wise, and spirituality. It's not like uh, I follow a religion or anything, but I do believe we all have a bigger force that we can tune in and will make our lives, let's say, easier. And yeah,
Well, that's beautiful, Captain. And yeah, I mean, it kind of brings up this whole other aspect of your work, which is almost like the psychedelic component. I mean,
yeah,
you mentioned Ram Dass. I think he was. I'm not an expert on Ram Dass, but I thought he was kind of like a 1960s figure, maybe friends with Timothy Leary. Like I
totally.
had to. So, can you talk about a little bit the psychedelic side of things? I mean, maybe you just did, right? But how important are psychedelics to your workflow
Well,
or
I'm
your
a pothead.
content? You know.
I
Maybe not
won't
your
lie.
workflow, but your content. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I won't lie. I'm a pothead, dude. I love weed and I smoke it, and I have a relationship with trying to not obsess with it, right? But in the past, I did lots of psychedelics. Yes, mostly LSD and shrooms. Those brought clarity to my head in some way, like opened doors that I didn't even knew were there. And I'm totally influenced by it, by the all the how to put it. That it's not craziness. All the there's a word I forget at this moment, but all what psychedelics bring or brought to my life now, I think it's like being expressed through this stuff. Because, for example, this last piece I put on the Figmentz, the uh, forgot the name. I need to check it.
I am looking.
Introspectary. Yeah, yeah, the one of the soul looking at on the dark soul. It's based on a dream or idea I had like 1 week ago,
Really?
and yeah, yeah. And I did like three versions of that one. I didn't like it, and the fourth one, it was like, oh, this is cool. But to put it in a way, it was like sort of a psychedelic idea, dream, something that comes in like when you're high on something, like, oh, this is it struck me like lightning. And yeah, I'm totally influenced by it. I won't lie. I'm not a consumer of psychedelics at this moment. Like, I used to microdose on that shit, but nowadays I'm chilling. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do, and not saying won't, but I'm totally influenced by it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I also like about the that work in particular. It's like there's these solar system type uh, uh,
Yeah.
things that surround it. So again, it's kind of like this. I don't know if you know the words, this synoptic, almost like this metaphysical, like all multi-layered art. You know, it's again done with pixels, and again, and I assume the movement of these pixels, and I'll turn it over to the crowd here in a second. So is that done in that software you were talking about, that teletext, the way it's moving so beautifully and fast, the animations, or is that a GIMP thing? Or you don't need to tell us, by the way, but just kind of
Uh,
curious.
and I'm gonna tell you, no worries. Yeah, it's done on that program, but I need to go to take it to GIMP to final production to
Got it.
put
Got it.
the put the GIMP all together, and yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, the program's very powerful, actually.
And
Very
what
good. Sorry,
I was just going to say, what else is interesting too is the pixels. They almost look like they're not square.
they're not.
That is so cool. Yeah.
They're
I
not.
mean,
They're rectangles, man. Like two
old
pixels.
school.
Yeah, yeah. Old, super old.
Very cool. Well, we have a wonderful crowd here. There's Xerox there, and Mikey de la Creme Sabato, Scamra, Martin Joe, Manny, purple drank. So if anybody wants to join the conversation, you have a question or comment for Cap'n, by all means, join the show here and just put a request to speak. Maybe I'll prank a few people on the way. What a great crowd. There's Kant too. Rintoon, do you have any questions for Cap'n?
Yeah. Of all the collections that you've put out, what are some of your like favorite ones that you've done?
At the moment, I would say the Figmentz, man. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What is it
because
about the Figments that you like so much?
it's like the mix of everything I did before. Like it's not traditional art, but still like retro pixel art, pixel art, yeah. And I dig a lot that the software as default has a black background, and I do that a lot previously to finding the program. So it's like, oh, this was meant to me for me to create. Since on the software the black background is intended to be transparent, right? So you export as a PNG and you have no background, but you can do it with the background, which, as I said, its default color it's black, and I've used that on the plants and the faces, and most of my art relates on black backgrounds. So it's like it was meant for me to explore it, and I'm enjoying that a lot. So I would say the pick.
That's very cool, very
Yeah.
interesting. It's funny how just like something so simple as just having a black background inherent in the software is the thing that kind of like forms the relationship between you and the tools.
Totally, it's insane. It's like I'm working at, and I'm like, I can't wait to finish this so I can start trying this new stuff there.
You see it in the work. I mean, you see the joy that you are taking in this work here. And again, like to your point, like the reason it's like, as far as I understand you, and this is my sense of what you're saying, the reason you love it so much, it like it kind of captures everything you're doing.
Yes.
But right, and but just like with this new software, and it's even like this exciting new software. Uh, you want to talk about a little bit the works, I guess some of the Kappan works and like the I guess it's the Astral Haze. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah,
there's too
sure.
much to say on it, but can you talk a little bit about it and like maybe I don't know, was that also using GIMP and Deluxe Paint? Was that what was going on there?
For the Astral Hazers, I used GIMP, mostly GIMP. And on that particular collection, I explored my evolution, basically, like how I've come to be where I am at the moment. So, yeah, it's a very personal sort of putting. It's not biographical, but each one, I think there were 12. I don't remember. Yeah, 12 tokens. And each one represents and has an, a meaning inside of the very first one. It's called in call, and it's the the inner call that I got years ago, like what I want to be and I want to become. And the last one, since I won't go piece by piece, the last one's called the door back home, and the door where you liberate and free yourself of all struggles, inner, personal, and mental struggles. But yes, these were created using GIMP based on this pixel being, soulman, whatever you you want to name it, that started there. And I say this is not biographical, but it's based like on my cycle and the cycle I've seen in others and self growth. So yeah, I explore that and yeah, it's made using GIMP and a bunch of plugins that it has that helps to animate the and change the movement. GIMP's pretty powerful tool. I'm gonna be honest.
I was just gonna say this makes me want to use GIMP. Hearing all this stuff, I think I downloaded it like 6 or 7 years ago when I needed Photoshop, when I had changed computers and the keys that I had for Photoshop weren't working. I found it a little. I never really gave it too much of a chance. I just thought it was like a free Photoshop, so it can't be that good. But clearly, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you mentioned the door, and I'm looking at it right now. I mean, another kind of cool aspect of your art was it's almost like psychedelic art, but without all the, classic psychedelic,
Yeah.
uh, tropes, shall we say, or ideas. Like it's like this psychedelic spiritual art, the door of liberation, and so that is super interesting for me. And I also really like, I mean, this is something I really like about your art is this idea that you leave, and a lot of artists do this, but leave like part of the GIF static or not moving and the other part is moving. Was that something that you did? I guess you did it from very early on, like those rock rooms or those rooms with the band instruments. Do you have anything to say about that? About sort of animating only parts of the image?
Yeah, I think it gives focus on something that I want to say. Like, yeah, for example, the door, if we're talking about that piece, only the other side it's moving because the other side is brighter, it's warmer, it's better than the cold place you are right now. So when you free yourself, you'll get to that warmth. So I need to give uh, some contrast to make it look better than where the being is standing before jumping into the door. So yeah, it's intended. I like a lot to make the stars move only, so you can see, like, just appreciating the sky. You don't see the whole sky moving, right? You see subtle things move. So yeah, it's. I do it on purpose,
Yeah,
just to
it make
focus. Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to say it makes it very poetic. Go ahead.
yeah, just to focus on what I want to express on the piece. For the anamnesis piece, for example, there's two souls, to put it in a way. Yeah, um, remembering each other. It's about remembering who you are, right? Who you really are. Not about another life, but sometimes we forget what we are intended to and what we came to this world to do. So I just wanted them to, their eye, just one eye to shine, like, yeah, looking through. No, no, no. Hey, no,
So, sorry, continue if you have.
no, no.
I, I just wanted to say on the anamnesis piece. I mean, again, it kind of screams Platonism a little bit, and yeah, I totally feel like, and that is kind of almost like you've eaten the mushrooms, and then it's like this remembering, at least of a space that that you forget about really in your normal life, but then all of a sudden it's this remembering, as you say, almost who you really are, or who you maybe aren't, or what's a deeper self, shall we say. Is so, but when someone uses a word like that, so did you study any classic philosophy at all, or?
I did not, man. I'm very. I've always been drawn to this. Very interested in, as I say, not only Ram Dass and the Be Here Now book, but lots of other stuff. My dad, he studied philosophy, sociology, and that. So I've been influenced by lots of philosophical thoughts since I was a little boy. But yeah, not that I studied um, philosophy or anything like that. Just nurturing the soul and the mind, to say.
Sure. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
guess you were around it,
yeah, yeah.
as far as your dad, so familiar territory maybe just through osmosis. We have a couple of people on stage here. Kent, welcome to the show. Great to hear from you. How are things going?
Hey, hello, Coco Valley Guntun. How are you doing?
We're doing wonderful here. We're just thrilled to
Great.
have Cap'n on the show here. Such an interesting artist out of Costa Rica, and we're glad to have you too out of Delhi here. Very international situation. Do you have a question or comment for Cap'n?
Yes. One very interesting question. First of all, Captain, wonderful work. I just checked your pin tweet, and I'm very happy to see a pixel in rectangle shape. I think this is really interesting because whenever we think about the pixel, it automatically comes in our brain that the pixel is square, but it does not. I mean, technically, it's not always square. This is the one aspect or the one shape pixel could exist in. So I wanted to know your own understanding about the pixels.
Um, it's not something that well, first of all, thank you, Kant. Thank you very much for tuning in and for your question. It's not something I did on purpose. It's just the software I've been using to create these pieces. If that's the default pixel size, it's basically like two pixels, two square pixels together. So yeah, there's nothing I can really say about it. I didn't do it on purpose. It was just the way the software works, and
Sometimes that's the best.
I find it very interesting as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, in finance, they say don't fight the Fed, don't fight the Federal Reserve in your investing. And I find technology is like that a lot. If you're building a website, don't like make it the way, the web wants you to make a website. Don't, follow. I wasted years of my life trying to make websites in the way that the web didn't want me to make it. And it's sort of like, it seems like you're saying a similar thing here with the tech, with the software. Just do what it wants you to do. If it's kind of giving you a certain kind of parameters, work around those. Don't try and force things too much. Go with what you're kind of given to a certain degree. Um, we have a couple of more speakers here. Chi Moscow Jackson, welcome to the show. How are things going over in Seattle?
Oh, things are going great. Just up early for the grind here and the hustling, trying to get some work done. So, but I really enjoy this conversation, and I just had a comment, just to say that Captain, I first discovered your work when you had this profile picture project, these PFPs through your alias, the ExoJam. And that was the first kind of works I saw, and I was like, oh, these are really awesome. But then I got your piece on Ethereum. I think it was called What Happens When You Come Down or Came Down. And that piece just really spoke to me. So I just really enjoy your work, and thanks so much for having this space. Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Chi. Means a lot. Sending love, man, and yeah, I remember you grabbing and displaying a PFP of mine on your Twitter back in the day, and also I think you collected some of our collabs with music. I think, but
Definitely, man. I'm a huge
thanks a
fan.
lot. Yeah. Means a lot.
I think it's great. Captain, have you ever gotten like a gallery reach out to you? Like, I just think you could put on such a stellar show. Has that ever happened? Do you ever get kind of, or is it pretty much, you're in the NFT space and that's kind of anybody that really knows about you?
Only in the NFT space, actually. No, like real life gallery. You mean?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Like, I'd
No.
expect not, just because I think we're almost surprisingly small here. But I'm just kind of curious because if I was a gallerist and maybe Chi Moscow Jackson is gallerist, like it's sort of like, can you imagine putting on a Cap'n show? That would be spectacular, like, so I'm just curious, like, has anybody ever reached out to you in that regard? I assume not, but
No, there has no, not really,
okay.
man.
It could happen. It could happen at some point here. Retro Manny, welcome to the show. And how are things going? I believe you're in London. Is that correct?
Hey, Billy. Yeah, I'm not in London. I'm in Birmingham, but close enough. Yeah.
All right, got it.
I always tell people it's where Lord of the Rings was set. That's where I'm from.
Wow, I thought that was in New Zealand, or is Birmingham in New Zealand?
No, I don't mean the films. I mean the story was it was based. It was inspired by where I'm from. So yeah.
Okay, got it. How are things? So how are things going? And do you have a question or comment?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for this space. It's always a great space. Captain, it's been really good hearing a lot of the spiritual elements of what you've been speaking about. So really, it was just an observation and a comment just to say that I just really enjoyed listening. Felt it very deep, and it definitely resonated with a lot of things that I felt. Stuff about Ram Dass as well. Really, really fascinating of how you tie that into your artwork. So yeah, I just want to say that that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing. There's just kind of one addition. I just thought it might be interesting for you if you haven't heard of a guy called Matthias Di Stefano. I think you might find a lot of his philosophies quite inspiring too. So yeah, just want to say that.
That's great. Matias Di Stefano, Manny?
That's correct. Yeah, Matthias Di Stefano. I can DM you his name.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's talk later about it. But
Cool.
thank you so much for tuning in, man, and your words. And I'm glad to hear you're into this philosophical or metaphysical experiences as well.
Yeah, and what's so cool about it is it's like it doesn't hit you over the head. Sort of like the psychedelic stuff. Like you're not hitting us over the head with like making it super obviously psychedelic. It's not super obviously metaphysical. It just is, and you do it in your own way with almost that dark edge, from one bit necro and popple, influence. So what's next then? I guess you're doing the Figmentz thing. It seems like you're full on in there. Do you have any other projects coming up? Are you still working on? I assume you still work on Plantz and Cappen's gift
Yeah,
shop, and the
yeah.
Pixcells sounds like there's utility. So what's in the pipeline here, Cappen?
Ooh. Well, for the yes to everything. First of all, I do still do the plants and plan to plant more plants, but the pixels came from experimenting on the plants. They're like a derivative of derivation or something of those, like on the same biological captain realm. And what I intend to do with the pixels, it's like maybe you'll need, let's say, 3 pixels to grab a piece of whatever I plan to do. Like use them as value tokens, utility tokens in some way. So you want this piece, you need to have, let's say, 10 pixels, and you can get it for half the price, something like that. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with those. As for the Figmentz, yes, I'm fully into this collection. I'm actually super stoked because I'm doing a side Figment collection with music. So I already have three musicians that are working on their songs, and I'm doing, of course, the Figment part. But yeah, there will be soon a Figment collab collection with musicians that will give more life to these scenes. And yes, it's basically where I'm at the moment. I'm working and have an idea for another like Figment alt collection, but first the music.
I was going to ask you about that since you're in these bands. That if you ever were planning to incorporate music, have you ever incorporated music before in your
No,
NFTs?
I have not.
Interesting.
I have.
Interesting. Great. Well, as we're wrapping up here, sort of going once, going twice, if anybody wants to make a request here, Rune Tune, do you have any more questions? Should we wrap up? Or actually, let's start with you, Cap'n. Do you have any final thoughts for us as we're wrapping up here with everybody here? I mean, you have a really nice full space and all-star crowd here.
Well, I just want to thank everyone from the very beginning, even if they're not here in this space. Thanks everyone that has connected with my art and my pixel vision, which is, I know it's kind of different to the traditional. And I'm deeply touched that we connected in some way. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to whoever is listening to this. And thank you, Poco and Runtun, for inviting me. I was thrilled the other day, like, oh, is this going to happen? Let's do it. I couldn't believe my eyes, but here we are, almost at the end of the space. And I am truly grateful for what you've done on your on your YouTube as well, man. You're doing a lot for this community. We need that. We need more of that as well, I think. So, yeah, truly thankful.
Well, thank you, Captain. I was absolutely thrilled. Again, there's a lot of kind of enigmatic figures in the space that almost just don't want to go on the spaces. I wasn't sure, so I was totally thrilled because what I see you doing with the Figmentz work as well as your other work, I mean, it's so original as you were just saying, and so it's like I say, there's something kind of there's a great saying by David Hickey, old art historian that passed away. Undeniable is undenied. You know, there's something undeniable about the work. Santiago has just actually come on stage here. Santiago, I can't miss this moment. Welcome to the show
How are
from
you,
Uruguay.
friends? Yeah, how are you?
Doing wonderful. Fabulous.
Great.
Welcome.
Santi,
How are you guys doing? I just came to say hi to Chico and congrats on all the work and thanks for how great you are to all of your colleagues and friends here. You are amazing, man.
thank you, Santi. It means a lot. You as well. You already know it, right?
Yeah,
Thanks,
well, it's
man.
beautiful. And we always welcome a cameo from Santiago. Always. And Santiago, you're doing well and everything?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
great. I have the fire on. It's cold, as very cold here. And it was great to listen to Cap and talk about his work. It's super inspiring. And it was a surprise for me that this was like visual arts kind of new in his life. So that's crazy and great. I guess music is good training for people that jump into visual arts anyway.
That's true, man. That's actually true. Some of the stuff I come up visually come through me while I'm playing music. Like, oh, and I have this riff music in my head, and I'm looking at something that I can't wait to try to bring through the pixel realm. But that's totally true, Santi.
It's almost like this is a word that we haven't gotten to yet. It's like it's very inspired, the work, you know, like there's an inspiration there, and music often inspires, doesn't it? So, well, thank you, Captain and Runtune. Do you have any final thoughts for Captain here, and anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think just touching on what everyone's been kind of observing. As an artist, it is really hard to like stick to one thing and make a a large series that kind of like has its own conversation. But each collection that you have, from the Captain's gift shop to the plants, the figments, all of that, it's really impressive. And the your sensibility, your voice, it really comes through. I especially love the Captain's gift shop. Um, and as Poco Belly said, it's you're not like hitting us over the head with some sort of idea or psychedelic thing, but it definitely comes through, and it's very
Mm,
impressive. And I feel very privileged to be able to have spaces with Poco Belly and artists like yourself. So
I appreciate it.
thank you for coming on and sharing all your thoughts.
Thank you, man. No words. Thank you. Much love. Thank you, man.
Much love to everyone, and yeah, I echo your thoughts, Rune Tune, and we have to love how small this is, because if this was like some massive thing, Cap'n would be making too much money really to make time for a space maybe, and we'd all be making too much money probably to be making time for each other. I mean, hopefully not, but you know what I'm saying. If this was massive, there'd be so many people. We'd be trying to help our employees, make help them make payroll. So all to say, it's the beauty of things being small. I feel like this is like an all-star cast here, and I love how small this is because I think that's why it's possible. So with that, thank you, Captain. Thank you, everybody who spoke. Thank you, everybody who's listening. And yeah, it's just a real honor and pleasure. And thank you most of all, Runtune, for showing up once again on a weekly basis here. And so until next time, take care.